Last week on The Jaded Mechanic with Angry Bob.
There's like a camaraderie now too on the internet, you know, with like technicians like myself and yourself and Check Engine Chuck and all. A lot of the reason why I started doing it, I was like, yo, I want to be a part of that. That's different from what I came up with. I came up with this, and now these guys are, you know, they're friends on here, and everybody's working together. I'm like, I dig it, man, and that's why I wanted to be a part of it.
And now, part 2.
And that's what, like, TikTok has a lot of its detractors, but I find that, like, and it's not that I've never made friends on Facebook. That's so far from the truth. I mean, I have made lifelong friends on Facebook, but TikTok is like at a different level, I think, on how fast they interact with each other. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's minutes. And they're you know, well, we see it. Somebody posts a video, and within seconds, somebody's stitching it. Somebody's responding to it. Somebody's replying in the comments. It's instantaneous, you know. Whereas Facebook, it's like you might get back to the end of the day, and there's your comment, and then the next day, and it might go on. Right. TikTok seems to have way more at weekend. I think they have way more conversations that happen, I guess is what I'm trying to say on TikTok. And then it's like, it never goes away. It's still,
and you see them developing. You see the guy showing up at the other guy's house. Like, they live states away. You're like, whoa, like, that's for real. That's a friendship there those guys have built. If that guy lives in Michigan and the other guy lives in, you know, Pennsylvania, and they're meeting up, like, they plan that out to do that. So that's a real friendship there. And to me, that speaks volumes. It's genuine. You know what I mean? Like, these guys we are all just the same guys. We're just making videos, and we're having fun, and we're enjoying something positive coming from doing this for a living for once, rather than it being negative. And sometimes I feed into it too, and I'm in the comments, and I don't want to be like that. I want to be the opposite of that angry thing. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing.
But see, people that know me, they know why I do it. And, you know, I'm unapologetic about it. I cannot stand it when somebody gets on there and immediately says, Bob, that's the wrong way to do it. You don't need to do it like that. Like, you guys are just trying to rip people off with you're charging an hour for diag going. Like, it's always a friggin' fuel tank pressure sensor. I come unglued in the comments on those people, because it's like, first of all, I know exactly what you are. You're a troll that doesn't fix cars. So then I go, and it's like, why the F are you following professional mechanics if you're not one?
Because there's people in the world that flick, man. They flick, and I can't stand it.
But you know why I look at it like it's simple as this, and this is what I tell everybody else. You know why they're following? Is they're trying to learn something from you. Because then they don't want to come and pay you. They don't want to go into your shop and pay you. They don't want to come into my shop and pay me to do it for them. They're hoping to get the tidbit on the net for free. And that's why I get so mad. Chuck and I have had conversations about this. Is like, you should not answer those questions, dude. When he's trying to ask you, you know, he's
a lot nicer than I would be. He's a lot nicer than I would be.
I tell them, listen, dude, it's broken. Take it to a shop and get it fixed. And they get so mad. Oh, they're going to rip me off there. First of all, who do you think you're offending when you say they're going to rip you off there? You're talking about my brothers or sisters in the industry going to rip you off. Are all of us perfect? No. Are there some shady characters? Sure. But at the end of the day, I look at it, if you make the right choice on who, you shouldn't get ripped off. If you go look for the cheapest, you're going to get ripped off. And they're not person that's cheap is not intending to rip you off. You just chose cheap. And they didn't have the training. They didn't have the tooling. So, like, when they're in there and they're asking these questions, I lose my ever-living mind, because it's like when you're in class, right, and you're having a really good conversation. There's always that one kid that thinks he knows the answer. He's like, oh, and he's trying to, you know, okay, Jimmy. And Jimmy says something absolutely ridiculous. And Jimmy's just now taken the whole conversation and drove the train right off the tracks. Like, that's how I look at those guys that are in those threads, saying absolutely ridiculous, sometimes offensive things to professionals like myself and yourself. I just come unglued. I cannot turn and walk away from it. I can't. And I don't think I'm ever going to be able to. If I feel in my heart of hearts, I feel like if we just took like a year and didn't feed the monkeys, right? Didn't feed the monkeys like the sign at the zoo says, they'd all go away. Because they know that industry is not going to enable me. I can't get the answer I need. F them. I'm not following them. Goal. I hit my goal.
Yeah, absolutely. You got, sometimes you got, like, it's like somebody was messing with you when you were a kid in school, and they would tell you just ignore them, and they go away. A lot of times that's what happens. They feed off the response. But I'm as guilty of that as anybody else, but there's also, I have like notes behind me. I've been trying to like, this thing is what it is now. It's growing a little bit. So you're trying to make it better and marketing yourself better and not being, so adversarial. You know what I mean? Because I am very quick to that. It's just my way. And that,
And I have not done necessarily my platform every favor that I could.
Right. Well, that's learning.
But at the end of the day, like I have to be unapologetically me, and it's like people that have known me before I had this platform, they know where it's coming from. They know why. They just laugh out and go, look at him go again. There he goes again. There he goes again. And it is what it is, because it wouldn't be me if I all of a sudden just laid down the weapons and said, oh, you want a bullet? Let me go look it up here for you. In 1998, you want to go to this splice and you want to load test it. That's not me. You want to, like, if you're not another tech, you want to get it to a good shop. Here's a list of good shops and they will take care of it for you. I am not going to hold your hand and walk you through a Diager repair on your own car. That to me is counterintuitive to our very industry. And it's an unpopular opinion. It really is.
That's why we're here, because of like when I remember being the Firestone days, it was like that. The customer is always right, to the point where you would have people that came in and you knew it when they came in the door. They were going to come in, get a bunch of work done, call and complain, cause a big deal, and then get it for free. And they would say, I'm never coming back here. And you knew they were coming back. And that got catered to again and again and again. And so it built a reputation of, hey, man, they're going to do whatever I say, and I'm going to get it for free. So that's the reputation that we have now. And no one's, no business is going to stand up and say, well, fuck you, we're not going to do it, right? Because John down the street will do it. And if John won't do it, Joe will do it. And there's always, we never stood together as mechanics and said, no, we're not doing it. Because we'd rather, and it was my biggest problem with the business, you'd rather badmouth the guy down the street and tell him, no, come to me, he's a hack, rather than say, no, I heard from John you're a problem, and don't go to Joe either, because we all know you're a moron. Get out of here. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with saying no sometimes.
Oh, we all need to learn to say no. I say, if we get 10 cars in a day, we should probably only take 9. There's probably one every day that we should say no to. Right? Because then it becomes a project thing, or it becomes like, I was just talking with somebody yesterday and it was like they had one and it kicked their tail and they learned a lesson from it. But it's like, at the end of the day, was it smart to take that? No. Pride got in the way. We've had them at my shop and we would have been smarter to pay the customer to not work on it. Like
that S on your chest gets heavy, doesn't it? Okay, S gets heavy.
And it's like, but I think by nature, just like you said, you want to fix them, right? You want to be the guy. Everybody wants to be the go-to guy. Everybody wants to be the go-to guy. Everybody wants to take pride and go, I beat that, right? That car came in and had the stupidest problem. I found it. I fixed it. But I've had some really long conversations with some of the people. Lucas says it. It's not about fixing the car. Like, and it gets like he'll say that's not even the most important element is fixing the car. It's about the customer's experience. It's about how the customer goes away feeling. Yes, you got to give them a fixed car, but sometimes like you just have to be their advocate, which means that it's like, if you can't fix it, you have to do that. You have to be upfront and honest and tell them, I can't fix it. Now, can't and won't or shouldn't can get switched around in there depending on the customer and the situation. But I mean, there's lots of cars we should have never touched, is my point. And if I could get more people to understand how to identify which cars those are, we'd be a lot easier. The joke was always like, if we could just get an industry list of people that you don't do business with.
Right. The problem customers. Oh, Sarah, no. You're blacklisted. Like a casino almost. Don't come in, you can't gamble here no more. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Well, illegal. You can't do that. You know what I mean?
No.
But I mean, if everybody in the communities would work a little better, a little closer together, and stop seeing each other as competition and be like, oh, I know Craig over at John's. I talked to Craig. Craig, this, I got one of these in here that's doing this. And he'll go, is it this color? Yeah. Oh, shit. I know exactly what car you're talking about.
It's been to 7 shops already.
That's right. Yeah. If it's like, because I know at the dealership, towards the end when I was there at Chrysler way back when, you could do that. you could look in and see the VIN number and see, or I could call the guy at the dealer and go, this van was sold at your dealer.
Mhm.
And I'm taking things apart and it's looked like it's been apart before. What's going on there? Right. Because the customer will never tell you.
Never.
And then it's like, they'll tell, oh yeah, that's a nightmare, that weird one. And then sometimes he'll just drop the little tidbit in your ear that it's like, oh yeah, it was all good until it was in an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, well, that just went from being like warranty to retail, like, and then, so when we need to work together. Like, going back to, like you said, we shouldn't be bad mouthing each other. Now, that's tough for me too, because as long as I've been on the internet and talking with shop owners and stuff, I used to say I'd have a bragging board, and it would be like a board of literally like hack repairs that came into my shop from somewhere else, and I'd put them up and I'd say, this is what you don't do. This is what your service provider should not be doing.
Well, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
My thing is, I'm not one for doing it by name. I just leave names out of it. Like, even with the situation with my stepson and all with the pay, I'm not burning anybody's business, Dan. It doesn't rise to that level. You know what I mean? You don't want to cause anybody, like, you get your opinion out there and how you feel, but I just don't do the name thing, because it's like, if it was me, and yeah, everybody has bad days. Maybe you did something something got by you where you just don't know. And it's like, you don't really have your chance to explain on social media, especially if something comes out and it's on you and they're using your name and you come in there to defend yourself. Well, then you're just going to look like you're doing exactly that. You know what I mean? You're trying to defend your bad deed. So I'm not so much one for calling people out by name. I kind of feel like karma will do its thing, and eventually that'll all even out in a way, because I don't know. It's just not one of them things I want to have in my conscience, I guess. But I'm with you on, showcasing like what you don't do and then showing the right way. Absolutely.
Yeah, just because we've all seen it. We've seen the cars that were parts canned, right?
Oh yeah.
And then you go in there and fix it with a broken wire, and it's like, sometimes, we all do it. Not we all do it, but we've all seen the videos that have been put up of, like, it's got all the new evap parts on it, and there's a broken wire to the vent valve. It's and yeah, so not necessarily calling the shop out that did it, but you can kind of like, you can kind of sit there and say, at the end of the day, this is why. Like Paul Danner's, great lesson to so many people is, like, you need that $500 retainer. You need that $500 retainer for the customer to understand that you have to go back and check everything that somebody's done. You have to check the parts that they did. You have to see what parts are put in there. Oh, it's got, brand X. Yeah, we've seen them not work. Like, we need to start there and put in the one that we know works, and then continue the testing. It may be done after that point. It may not be. If you
How about this, Jeff? How about this? Even if we're wrong, you still have to pay for that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You still got to pay for the time. It's still, because the time doesn't dissipate because I wasn't right.
Yeah. Yeah. Why, Bob, are we expected to, like, contribute to the customers when they have a problem car? Why is that?
I don't know who just made the video saying something about that the other day, or maybe it was something I saw on Facebook, but it was in the Change in the Industry Facebook group. And a guy said, why? Like, I have this business now. And he goes, I'm doing it all on my own, one-man show. And he goes, everybody that comes in wants everything for free. Like, they want my time for free. And they honestly, like, for real expect it and think that that's the way that it should be. Uh-huh. And again, I think it goes back to those, we'll run out and check your tire pressure for free. We'll run out and check your check engine light for free. And they saw those commercials and it resonated, and it just kept snowballing over the years. And this is where we are now. We discounted ourselves out of diagnostic. It's, we gave it away. So now they don't want to pay for it. Well, artists, or at least in their eyes.
I've made the argument. We've discounted ourselves. I just said it last week. We've discounted ourselves to the point where we're not even marketable as an occupation to the young people coming into this trade.
How could you the investment in tools alone, the investment in tools alone. And then it's like, you go into a shop, and what people don't realize is that the owner provided the building, the lift, and the electricity, and the air pressure from everything else comes out of that text box.
That's right.
We provide everything to a shop most of the time, except for the lift, the lights, and the walls. Yeah. But it's so hard for a guy, yourself, myself, to get those four walls and the lift and the pad, because that's been my blockage for 20 years, man. Could never get the building. Just could never find a place. Could never get in, and And we're getting off topic there, but it is difficult. It's difficult to go out on your own, and the mobile thing, personally for me, even though I see guys making money and all, I did it for a little while, and I found that it was usually got the losers who wouldn't go to a shop, had no money, and they were just on Facebook Marketplace trying to catch a deal, and that's not what I'm trying to be out there providing. I want to provide a service and a good one, and then that's not what people want to pay for.
We have that conversation a lot behind the scenes around here, and there's I see it on TikTok. You can follow, if you want to follow 100 mobile guys, you can find them on TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same as on YouTube, same as on any platform. And I look at it and it's like, I want to really like empower those people to go, you know what? I'm not saying don't be mobile, but I'm saying like, you want to be mobile to do this, right? And
that's
you want
it.
to specialize in that, and you want to be able to go out there and do the diag on the car and go, you know what? You need a module. And I can't program it, but here's the checks that I did. You need a module. Here's the shop that I work with. Call this gentleman, book it in, get it done. I win $150. Cool. On to the next one. When I see some of the guys that are like struggling and they're out there pumping the content out, fixing a lot of cars, but you look at it and you go, he just charged $60 for that. So he's counting on his downloads and his revenue from his platform to offset what really should be that job should be paying, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to reach through the screen sometimes and grab those people and shake them and go, God, man, you're undervaluing yourself. And the old me would have said, you're undervaluing the whole damn industry, right? Now it's like, I know that I'm having an impact on people. I know that like we're seeing the change happen in the industry. We are seeing it, and it's not right now. It's not all good for everybody. The change, like if you're a shop owner trying to hire a tech, it sucks. It really does. But I'm trying through the networking and the social media and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to get people like yourself, their story out there. I'm trying to get people that are out there thinking that they can't do the mobile thing and make it work. Trying to like, you can, anything you want to do in life, you can do it. If you've got the hustle and you're smart about it and you have the skills, you can make money doing this and you can make a good living. But I want people to understand it's not about the clicks at the end of the day, the downloads and all the free stuff that some sponsors may send you isn't why you should do this. You should do that because you want to help the industry. It shouldn't need it for the money, right? If all of that became demonetized tomorrow, I'll still be here. Like as a Canadian on TikTok, they don't send me money. Like that's the other thing that people don't know. Like TikTok it's not monetized in Canada. I'm not getting money from TikTok for doing this.
Oh, right? Really?
No. So the little shorts and shit, it doesn't pay. It wouldn't matter if the podcast didn't pay tomorrow. You're still going to hear me rant every week about something and tell somebody's story every week until I friggin' think I'm done. Till I don't need to tell it anymore. You know,
it makes you happy.
Well, yeah, because you and I were just talking. Like, this is not about just, I said, you can't stuff the money in your pockets and take it with you, right?
Nope.
You know,
you can't take it with you, and you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse, right?
That's right. What did you like? Did you at first think like this job change, like leaving that shop was going to be? You didn't think it was going to be the end for you?
I honestly don't know, man, because you kind of live in like a small. I live in a small bubble, and it's like what. As far as my marketable skills went at that time, not at this time, but I guess back when I had the surgery just recently, you know what I mean? My thought was, no, what other skill do I have that other than working on cars, you know what I mean? Or that's going to bring in, money that's respectable, and even now that I'm not really sure where it's going to go, but luckily I had this thing going, which again, this just that TikTok thing just started generating the smallest amount of money. So it's not like, I luckily I have my wife, she works and we're going to get by, but now the future is still uncertain in that way, Jeff, to be honest with you. while I had this opportunity, like I told you about, that may come to be with this company, that's not, they're not paying me. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a paycheck that I'm receiving right now. And that's not to be on here complaining or anything like that. It's just to say that, right now things are a little uncertain for me future wise, but I am happy that the TikTok thing has shown me, just from other people, that there is an opportunity to do different things now. And you can, reinvent yourself in ways that you really never thought you could before. Because to think I'd be sitting here with you with a headset on and a mic doing a podcast about a year ago would have been something that even at work, them guys were like, you're not going to make any money doing that, right? You're never going to be like a check engine Chuck or anything like that. And I was like, I know. And I knew that at the time. I knew I'd never, and then before you know it, 20,000 followers. And no, I'm not check engine Chuck, but at least I talk to check engine Chuck now, right?
Well, even when Paul Danner filmed his first video, he ever thought he'd be, Scanner Danner Charities? And
right. Look what the things he's doing.
I've talked to the man. He never in his wildest dreams thought that it would wind up where it has, right?
It humbles you.
Oh, dude, I'll tell you what humbles you is when you start to walk around an event and everybody stops you. Not everybody, but people stop you and say, "Oh my God, I love the podcast you did here." Or like I listened to, last year at ASDA, we had somebody said we had a 7-hour drive from where they were coming from to ASTA last year. And he's like, we had a 7-hour drive. We listened to so many episodes of your podcast. That's all they listened to. And I'm thinking, I've never listened to myself for 7 hours.
You know what the hardest thing about is making the videos? Watching me over and over. Because you got to go through and keep watching and edit and make sure everything hits right. Dude, I think I'm the biggest fool. Don't ever get it twisted. You know what I mean? Like, don't think I'm sitting over here like I'm the man. Look at me, how great. I think every video I can't believe people watch, but they do, and I'm thankful that they do. So,
I'm ugly. I'm abrasive.
No, I'm not saying you are.
No, I'm not all that smart. But I mean, the what this has done for me has, like I say it all the time. This has kept me in the industry. It really has, because it's like I can have a day and nothing makes sense. Nothing goes right. And then I can reach out to my people and talk to my friends and family. And I remember that it's like they had a day like that too.
Yep. You're not alone. And that's what it made you realize you're not alone. And there was a time like when I had that surgery and I was recovering here, and I you felt alone. You're like, man, this is like, I'm going to have to leave this business. And it's like, I know we complain about it, but we also love it. It's a part of our life. And you're like, damn, like, what am I going to do now? And then interacting with these people on TikTok and the internet and stuff like that, it's like saved me in a way. You know what I mean? Like, it showed me that like, it's not over. It's there's bigger things now because you just don't know.
We all just turned a page. When I did my first recording, I didn't know it at the time what it was about. And if anybody knew what it was going to lead to, it would have been Lucas, because he's the guy. Lucas is like next level in terms of just being able to understand how people will connect with other people. I never thought that sitting down when I was out of work during COVID, angry at the world. And I wasn't just angry, man. I had been angry for years. That's how
I feel the same way.
And it was like all I did in the Facebook groups was rant and complain and bitch and call people out. That's all I did. I was.
You were hurt. You were hurt. You were hurt, my man.
I was ground down.
Because you put so much of you into it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, like, this is what I get back.
Yeah.
And not that you're owed anything, but like, come on, man. We give everything into this. Everything, man. I don't know anybody who does a job who has put so much time and their own energy. Like I'm not talking about when you're at work. I'm talking about at home. Like when you're not getting paid. To learn and to better yourself. People go to work, they do their job, they come home, and that's it. Not mechanics. Dude, we work so hard. Technicians work so hard to continue to stay abreast of technology that's constantly changing. To be, it's never the same. It's never the same. No. Every year it changes.
You're never even ahead of it. You're never even on par with it. You're just like, how far behind are you? And
you have to work against the barriers they put in place to keep you from knowing what just came out. It's insanity.
Yeah.
It really is.
The misinformation, the shit that's published wrong. Like we've all seen that in service information. No, it doesn't actually work that way. You know what I mean? Like I know it's the engineer wrote it up and said it did, but that's the other frustrating part. The engineer that designed the system is not the one that wrote the service manual. The guy that puts the wiring harness in the car is not the one that writes the service manual. You know what I mean? Like it is all supposed to be laid out, but guys, when they build a building, they don't follow the blueprint 100% because the guy that drafts the building plan assumes that the ground is perfectly level. And then they have somebody else come in and they lay the foundation. The foundation ends up being 1 degree off. Everybody's accounting for that. You put that into a car, well, crap. Think about the variable and the time that comes to, right? And so we're just expected to roll with that? Well, no, because when we roll with it, it means that we have to trust that it's built the way it says it's built. And when we get into a situation where it's not built the way it says we built, we're the dummies because we didn't. Like that drives me sideways, you know?
Fix it fast and fix it right, but you ripped me off when you did so.
Yeah.
Don't be able to fix it and screw it up, and you are a dummy. There's no so where am I the man? Like where do you become? You know, where are you? Like where's the win for the guy in that? It's like if you fix it, you screwed him, and if you don't fix it, you screwed him.
Yeah. I guess the man thing is where are you the man? Where are you the hero? Well, when you fixed what nobody else could, that's what got addictive to me. Was like it had been back to the dealership 3 times. It had a check engine light on, or it had an ABS code, or had an airbag code, or had some funky thing. Back 3 times, I fixed it. That's when I was the man. It was stupid financially to be that man. It made 0 sense.
But it becomes about pride and being able to fix it.
That's right.
And you can do things that like. Even in the shop I was just in, I would go over. I never said nothing to the boss or anything like that, but you would go over to like the young guy working next to me, and you'd see him struggling with something, and you would just kind of like, "Yo, man," and walk off. You know what I mean? You just give it to him, and you just kind of see it happen, and him figure it out, and you'd be like, "That felt good," like that felt good to be like, I was that kid struggling with that, whatever the code may be, and it's like through my hardship, I found over the years, whatever this way to do it, this scenario, and it works. And it's like, I'm not going to hold or get, like I said, gatekeep. I'm not going to hold that in. I'm just going to give it away because I hated that struggle. I hated that when you sometimes were in a shop where where was that experience and knowledge there to help you, and it was not offered. And I just could never understand it. And a lot of guys would get grizzled and say, well, you know what? If I had to earn it so hard, then so does the next guy. But it's not. I always promised myself I wouldn't do it that way.
Let me throw this wrinkle at you. What about when you've got somebody like that and you see them struggling and you go over to them and you give them the fish and they go and they want to argue with you?
Yeah, I've been through that too. And you just kind of got to like, so like people will say about me, like if they have to come over to me and I'm in the middle of something that I, like the way I come off, it's like I kind of snap, but I'll apologize for that. You know what I mean? You'll get to know that about me where it's like, that's just kind of his way. But when you go to a guy and he wants to argue about you when you're trying to help him, you get to a point where you're just like, you know what, man? It's not worth it to screw my day up to come over here now and try and it goes further than that initial snap to where, okay, that guy's just a little bit of a hothead. He'll cool down and take my advice where you're just like, dude, you just want to argue for the sake of arguing. Then I'm not going to fight with you for you to do it another way. If you want to keep going the way you're going. But where I hit the wall was he wants to keep going the way he's going. And we're going to let that happen for 6 hours. And not say a word to him because he's busy, right? He's working, but he ain't getting shit done. So then now you're going to send that car over to me when he's done, and he's going to act like he never touched it. He's going to completely ignore me. And now I have to start from ground zero, figure the car out. And then when I do, you're going to give me another one. Well, why don't I just sandbag for 6 hours?
Well, I'm not defending the grizzled old guys that become that way, that get labeled a gatekeeper. But I mean, I know for myself, there's been people in my experience that I bothered to try pouring into, and then there was others that it's like, okay, you sass back a couple times or you and I'm just not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste it. I can't. You're not at that maturity level yet where I can help you, right? Anything now is just a waste of our time. I was the same as you. I got frustrated with the system because the system's like, they're giving that job to him to try and get him to learn. And I'm looking at it going, we're backing up here. And he's screwing it up, making more work for one of the 3 of us that's going to get that job. Don't give him the stinking job because he's going to he's going to mess his day up, and then you're going to go and give him an easy job. And he's still going to get the same hours that I get when I have to go in behind him and fix it. And I'll do it in 2 hours and you pay me 2. He'll have 6 in it. You're probably going to pay him 6 for trying. And then he's still going to make 4 more at the end of the day because he's going to bang off a front and rear brake job in 90 minutes. That's not right. That's my whole rub on the production thing. I can't.
They're going to throw it at that tech who can't do it because they couldn't wait. And for you to get done the car you were on, it's got to get done now. Now all you did was back yourself up. You didn't help yourself. Yeah, that guy's not sitting there. So the owner sees that he's getting a value for his dollar per hour right at that moment. But you're not, because if you just want to hold on 20 minutes, let me finish the car I was doing. I do electrical. That's what I do. Let him do the thing that he does well, and let that guy do the thing that he does well. And stop trying to push 30 cars into a 20-car day.
Exactly.
It's a bottom line. Like, it's not always about the, you're dealing with people, and people get tired. And as they get tired, the quality of their work is going to diminish, especially in an environment where you're working in heat, cold, upside down, sideways, on the ground. You know what I mean? It's like, and you expect that same level of diagnostic or repair work from a guy at 7 a.m. and then at 8 o'clock at night. And you're not getting that. Men need to rest. They need to sleep. Your minds are just too much expected from these guys now with the computers and the diagnostic. And it's too much, man. We just keep piling on it. We piling on it, and you're breaking guys. They don't want to do it. They leave.
We're piling onto the young people. I saw there was a conversation this weekend. I don't know if you saw it or not, if you're in that group, or if not, we'll get you into that group. And he says, I've got a young person that does oil changes for me. They do an oil change and a 35-point inspection. How much time are you allotting for that person to do? And what's reasonable and all that kind of stuff. And my immediate answer is, well, what's your 35-point consist of? What are you actually doing? Are you pulling cabin filters or pulling air filters that the customer's probably not even interested in buying anyway? If they are, stop doing that, because that's just wasting time. And I said to him, if you look at the posted labor times on a lot of these cars, they just do the oil change. And then no inspection, just the oil change. And you think they should do it done in 35 minutes? You're sadly mistaken. Most of the posted labor times are more than 30 minutes. So if you're bringing them in, I'm not saying they shouldn't get to where they're fast, but it's like, so the conversation keeps going. So it's like, okay, so, and he says, I really want to get rid of them because it's really hard to get somebody in this day and age right now, but I'm paying him $15 an hour.
$15 an hour.
And he's taken so long to get oil changes done. And sometimes he even forgets to put the sticker in. My answer back, again, because I can be that guy, I'll poke you back, is, okay, who's in your shop that's doing quality control? No answer. Okay, here's how we do it at my shop. Before that oil change gets done, somebody else walks over and checks it over to make sure that it's got a sticker, that the oil life monitor's been reset, that the inspection's filled out, all that stuff. Somebody does that. And I said, secondly, why do you think this industry is having the problems that it's having when somebody can go to work at Chick-fil-A and make $15 an hour, or you want to come in and drain oil and do inspections and try to sell work on cars for the same money? I would rather sit there and say, do you want fries with that or not for $15 an hour, than I would ever be trying to figure out when I'm looking at that car with somebody breathing down my neck, is it the coolant hose that's leaking or is it the water pump? I really don't know. But
you shouldn't want some kid in that car that you're paying $9 an hour. You're going to get $9 an hour worth of work from him. And let me tell you, it's going to cost you some engines.
Yeah. But see, we show them the broken business model. We show it to them. And then you give them 1,000 examples going back a century. We've had automobiles for a century now. And how it didn't work, and why do they hold out on the idea that it must be something different? I said to the guy flat out, I said, you're giving away too much labor on every oil change. If you're giving all those checks away, you're doing too much labor for free. Stop doing that. If they just want a stinking oil change, give them a stinking oil change. Otherwise, you sell an oil change with a big inspection, you staff it appropriately, you charge it appropriately, and then you get enough nut off of that job that person can mentor a young person and say, this is the process. This is how we want it done. This is how it's expected to be done here. This is how it will be done. And then And
And
only
give
then.
them time too to adjust that, because especially if you're working with kids, man, because
Yeah.
they're not grown men, and that's another thing. They put that on my steps on at the one shot. They want this responsibility from you, and it was me too, and any young guy in the business at like 17, 18, 19 years old. You
Yeah.
are still a child.
Mhm.
You are just learning your way, man.
Yeah.
So you're not going to make those 7 a.m.s sometimes on Saturday. You're not, you're not always going to be as reliable as Jim, who's 50 years old and has 2 kids in college and a wife and home, because you don't have that shit on your plate. You're not, you know what I mean? You don't have that weight, nor should you. Nor
Yeah.
should that 17-year-old have that weight and be expected to carry that weight. You need time to grow into that. You need time to become the tech or the employee or the person that you're going to be. And that's the thing. It's like 18 years old, you're an adult. You are the furthest thing from an adult when you are 18. And sitting here at 40, I'm just now touching adult, Jeff. We're just getting to adult, buddy. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I know. And I mean, I was brought up in a different time, and I was brought up with some parents that it was like, I mean, I had a paper route from the time I was 8 years old. So
Right.
it was like I knew a schedule, I knew a routine. There was a responsibility. I had to deliver papers. It didn't matter if I was homesick from school that day. The paper still had to get delivered.
Right.
You know, I might have had to wait till my father got home or my mom got home to drive me around, but they got delivered.
But you were still going to make those youthful mistakes somewhere along the line in in your job or whatever it may be. You know what I mean?
But I mean, it's like when everybody says these young people, I just hired a tech, 26 years old. They managed to work 4 days last week. Okay. I'm sorry. But, like we have a generation now that it was like, if they didn't even go to school 5 days ago.
They did it from their bedroom.
They still pass them through, right? Like now, and I look at these COVID kids that it's like, I can meet these young people now, and I know that they had 2 years of where they were homeschooled on COVID. They're not the same, and they're not ready, and they may never be ready.
Well, the education, I think a lot of it is a waste in high school. Like when they get to the high school level, I think it's just a lot of wasted stuff. I think that there should be, like, I've been incarcerated, unfortunately. And you know how many men you will spend time with, grown men like our age, that you watching TV somewhere with, and they go, "Hey, Bob, what's a FICO score?" Okay, like that's a problem. We're not educating the world about. When did you learn about money? I learned about it after like my second credit card chart. You know what I mean? Like when you start making mistakes, you got to fix all these mistakes that you make that were great. That you teach me geometry. I've never used it in my life, or trigonometry, or whatever. You know what I mean? Some of those classes that you take that you never use, that were if they would have sat you down and put you through some finance, man, it would have done you a whole lot better in the world. Some business classes on how to, to invest and where to put this and that and the third. Things that I know that would value my life in a whole lot better way than the things that I was taught. Yeah. Really. I mean, I don't know how it goes in Canada, man, but here we are falling. We're not doing any good. Like, so the thing that I was always taught was everybody around you does well, you do well. Like it's a community type of thing. Well, in America, we don't feel that way anymore, apparently, because we're all just miserable. Everybody's miserable.
Yeah. And, I don't want to get into a political thing, but up here, what's very much going on is the country is very divided. I think the whole world is very divided right now. I just think that's what's going on. And I think there's a big shift right now happening where I think they're really trying to eradicate the middle class. I think we're going to have like wealthy and poor. There's going to be nothing in between. Now, you can make the argument that it's like some people that have nothing are still feel very wealthy because they're not burdened with certain things. And I get that analogy. I totally understand it. But right now, we're starting to see where it's like, 40 years ago, we used to talk about some people had to have 2 jobs. Oh, I worked 2 jobs. Now, I know multiple people that have worked 3 jobs just to be able to pay the bills. They're still paying off their student loan. They're making a car payment. They're trying to pay their mortgage on it's just, it goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And there's a lot of factors that are coming into fact that, groceries are up 100% in the last 4 years in my country. Like what you used to be able to buy for $50, you can't even buy.
It makes you mad. You get stressed going to the supermarket. You get stressed out. You get like pissed off before you even get in the door because you know what's happening when you go in there. You're getting fucked. You know what I mean? Like it's bottom line.
But it's a situation of like when I look at, you're exactly right when you talk about financing. Kids don't need to learn the top 4 exports out of, Guatemala in 11th grade geography. They don't need to learn that. It does not matter. And it can, you know what, it can change tomorrow. And if they really want to friggin' know what it is, they can Google it and it'll get them. Like, we need to be teaching trades. We need to be teaching our people how to be employed. You know, it's like we need to teach them skills. We need to teach them how to be good employees. And everybody's like, what does that mean? Well, you've got to teach them that it's a responsibility, right? And it's, unfortunately, the job market is going to saturate soon with a whole bunch of candidates that come from different places that they're going all in when we're not, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is as a country up here. They're not going all in the way we are not going in the way all in. They will work 14, 16 hours a day. They'll work 2 jobs because this is their dream, right? What we have. And some of us have lost that. What is the dream here? And I can understand why. I'm not faulting them, because what our parents had is not what we have. And we're expected to work a whole lot more for a whole lot less. So I understand when the young people come in and they're 25, 26, and they only manage to work 4 days. They went through school or college and maybe they only went 4 days. And
Jeff, what's wrong with a 4-day week? Why don't we change? What's wrong with a 4-day week? Maybe they have the right idea. You know what I mean? Like, everything that is doesn't always mean that it should be.
Yeah.
There's change. It's a good thing.
Yeah. I only work 4 days now. Now they're 4 long days. But I mean, now it's like I used to say when I left the dealer, I'll never go back to some place that will make me work a Saturday again. I flat out friggin' refuse.
I haven't had to work Saturdays in a long time, and I agree with you. There's no reason for it.
I'll find a different line of work before I'll ever work a Saturday again. And now I get spoiled, and it's like every weekend is a long weekend. If I had to find another job tomorrow, it'd be definitely something I would consider if it meant less money. But to keep the 3-day weekend, it's pretty tempting, man. You get used to it. So
it's like I'm damaged to the point where, not damaged, but like just from working this way, like if I get more than 2 days off in a row, I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, why haven't I been to work? Because it's like, if you don't go to work for 2 days, your money's messed up. You know what I mean? Like, what? And that's just, I'm telling you, man, it's rough. Like, you get to the point where you can't sit down because you don't know how to. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just because any job I've ever had, dude, sitting wasn't something that they encouraged.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. I mean, that's not in this business. You better be good standing.
I mean, I'm lucky. I spend, a lot of time, and I have spent a lot of time in the last 5 years of my life in the job with a scanner on my lap behind the wheel of a car. I've done that, or I've spent enough time kneeled over a desk looking at a wire diagram. But there's some days, like we talk about it, tire season still kicks my butt. I am so racked and sore at the end of every day for 3 months in the fall and 3 months in the spring, that it's like I always look at myself and going, why are you doing this? Well, it's just part of it, right? When you say, so you touched on UTI, you regret. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, you regret going.
No, I don't regret. See, I didn't have in place what my stepson has in place. I mean, with me being here and it was a different time, and nobody in my world, like the young guys that I was with at the time, we were in the cars, but we didn't have any old heads like that, that were really there to help out. The old heads back then would like just keep walking. They were on their way home from work. They're like, nah, man, we don't want to help you out. So Lincoln Tech was actually a blast for me. That was the 1 year of school that I loved, because I was going to school for something I wanted to learn with all people who were there just to learn that, you know what I mean? And they weren't interested in that. So I clicked up with a few guys, and one guy I still talk to this day, his name's Don, and he's working for Tesla now. You know what I mean? So there were a few guys who stayed with it and stayed in the business, but most of that intro class you were with, that's where you started out, and then there wasn't many of them left at the end. But the guys who were in it to win it, you know what I mean, or to stay in it, I guess you'd say, I still talk to a few of them, and it's expensive, but I can say now that maybe it wouldn't be so worth it because of the information that's available now, but I would never say I regret going, because it was one of the most valuable experiences I've ever had. And I think had I not done it, that I wouldn't have gotten to the business so like committed as, it would have been like something I did, but I would have done other things like a lot of guys I know. I got in and stayed in, and I've never left. You know what I mean? So not a lot of guys are like that. There's been a lot of guys who've left and come back, or they leave and they don't come back. Me and that guy Don are the only two that I can think of right now from that class that are still doing it. Yeah. But he's another guy that loves it like crazy, man. And what he did was pretty incredible, because he went from doing what we do to something that's that's a closed door you're opening. You've never seen it before. And he said they told him his first day, forget everything you learned over the past 20 years, and you can leave your tools at home. And that was what they told him. And he said it was rough in the beginning, but he's a master over there now, so he's doing very, very well.
Good for him.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that stuff. I love seeing guys do well.
Yeah.
I don't hate on anybody. I don't even care if I'm not doing well. If you're a guy out there like Chuck or anybody that's shining or whatever, I think it's the greatest thing in the world right now that these regular people doing regular jobs can be like stars. You know what I mean? Like really, it's such a different thing now than it used to be. Because I'd rather watch them than some dude that's got millions.
Yeah, I don't. How many of us probably don't watch when Elon Musk does a press conference to profile a new model? Nobody probably tunes into that. No. But like, there's probably a lot of videos if somebody was to take a Tesla apart. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that are going to watch that, and and Elon's not going to be the one taking it apart. Not hating on the guy, he's the one that comes up with a lot of those things that are still happening. Like the guy's a genius, bona fide. But I'm not watching him. I want to know how it. Like I want to know how it's.
And now more than ever, I think you root for somebody who's working to get there. So you're not specifically going to root for the guy who's already there and he made it. We're not rooting for him anymore. I'm going to root for the guy who's digging up and trying to get there. And because I think that's what it's all about. We're all trying to get to that level in whatever we do. You're not going to be Elon Musk, but if you're a mechanic or whatever, you be Paul Dana or wherever you want to, you all have that level that you want to get to. Nobody starts something as like, I just want to be mediocre. I never knew a guy who was like, I don't want to be good at fixing cars. I want to be a shitty mechanic and I really want to have a lot of comebacks and I don't want to make any money. Like everybody comes into it wants to be good. It's just, I guess maybe it's all about who you have around you, what you learn and your experiences and how it ends up there, because even good or bad, my experiences put me to where I am right now,
Yeah. The culture of the shop is the key thing. I've seen that now. And it resonated in the last 5 years. You see some absolutely phenomenal shop owners and you look at the culture that's going on within their business and you realize that like, there's no ceiling to that place. There's none, because at the ground level, everybody's got each other's backs. And that's what it's all about. They're not pitted as a competition against each other, right? It's collectively we kill it, and collectively we're superstars. We got one guy out there trying to be the hero, or trying to be number one, or racing they post our hours from the county. Like
we did that. Oh yeah, it's top 25 flag and text of the week.
Yeah,
and you know what that did, right? He was just fighting to get to the top of that sheet. And that's all it was, And there was a guy I worked with for years who we fought cat and dog in the shop. Like in each other's faces over flat rate hours. And but it was a double-edged sword because it made me a better tech sparring with him. I got faster, I got better, but it was a negative experience. You don't want to do that, but we weren't that way outside of work. We were friends outside of work. We used to go drink in a bar and stuff, but at work we were killers. That's what you had to be in there because you needed to go in there and make 60, 70 hours that week because you had a mortgage and a car payment because you were living at 60, 70 hours a week as we all do, right? Because you hit that 60, 70, so you're going to keep living there. But sometimes coming into Thursday and you had 20 hours, he was not your friend anymore. You needed to make 40 hours in the next 3 days.
Yeah, and I was that way. Like if that guy was, his hours sheet, because it's the same thing. It passed around, you don't be in your front drawer of your toolbox every morning. You pull it out there and there's that same number top of the sheet again from yesterday. You already knew, like you just threw him in the pile. At the end of the weekend, you knew he smoked you.
Yep.
Because Wednesday he was 3 times farther ahead than you were. You knew that you couldn't catch him. So yeah, when they hand you one of his comebacks, you think I'm doing that comeback? Hell no.
And then the customer sees you in the shop freaking the fuck out, right? But they see that little window there where this dude's in this shop and it's a bad experience. Yeah. No, it's because he's been getting hosed on hours all week. You weren't there for that. He's upset, and that happens too. It's that squeaky wheel gets the grease, but in a bad way a lot of times. Because they're going to get rid of the guy who's saying things and or questioning things. But I've even tested that theory where you be in a job and they're like, yeah, you can't be like that. You're like, okay, so you come in and you try to say something constructively and you get the same result. So you're just like, man, it's just not worth the headache. Move on. There's other places.
I give them lots of notice when I sit down to an interview. I give them lots of notice. I tell them exactly what I'm like.
Yeah.
If you still take me on, you take me as I am, right? Whatever that song was.
People are so soft now, man. Like I'm not running over and punching in the face or words, man. You
Yeah.
know, like it's just, but that's the way the world is now.
If I see him drowning, and it's like I know that the next minute, if he'd step on my neck,
Right.
and I see him drowning, I ain't throwing him no saver. There's no, it ain't happening. Like
I guess I'm flawed that way, man. I like I'm my part. Like I give that like when they're dying and they'd leave you in the water to drown, but you still throw them. It's one of my biggest mistakes, Jeff. Let me tell you,
I'm not that.
Because it'll fuck you every time. Every time. I don't even become so.
It's okay. I learned it young, and it sucks, and I'm not proud of it.
It's and then there's nothing wrong with it. You have to be cold, man, because I don't know. It's my mom did that to me, man. It's her fault. Yeah. She made me be that.
Too, but, like I had to sacrifice so much to learn that little tidbit, right?
You do. You have to, man. You can't have a heart in this world to a certain extent.
If he's over there drowning, it's not in me to walk over and pick him up because I know tomorrow he'd stand on my neck to get to where he needed to go, and it's fine. But even. Should I go over and help him? Yeah, I should. But by God, I'm going to get a laugh out of it, and I'm going to get some entertainment before maybe I do. You know what I mean? And it just depends on the environment. The environment I'm in now, it's not to anybody's benefit to let him struggle. It's not. And even like you could make the argument, well, when you're all on commission, when you're on commission, it's not. Yes, it is. Because I have to get mine before he gets his because there's only so much to get. And that's the thing. The shops don't want to admit, but that's the reality, when
and you got everybody eating from the same pie, man, and there's not going to be enough to go around, and somebody's always going to end up without a chair when the music stops.
Yeah,
and then you expect that guy to just kind of be happy about it, and that like I see some of these places, like it even seems like that Royalty Auto or whatever it is, the guy with the white hair with the ponytail, guys seem happy there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's a 4-day weekend, and Thursday they go up to a classroom for training and all, and don't get me wrong. I think the guy a little full of himself, but that's okay. He has the right to be. He's got a very successful business and a very successful, online presence, and good for him. But you can tell that those guys that he's working for him, they're not going home counting pennies, man. They're probably taken care of, and they're being offered something like I told my stepson, and I hopefully anybody that's watching this will hear this more than anything else. Go work for somebody who's going to offer you training and education, because it costs so much money, and I'm telling you, take that education. That's worth more than anything else, because you could take that education, you have that forever. They can't take that back. You own it for the rest of your life. Dude,
I've worked in some places where I hated to work there, but I got some lessons. I learned some things that I take with me, right? And it's just like I said, you can't take it back.
Can't. No matter what happens to you in life, you always have your skill and the knowledge that you possess.
Yeah, the scars that I got working there, the damage, whatever, PTSD, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I take that with me too. But I mean, the struggles and the hardships and what I went through to learn the lessons that I can now apply to somebody that appreciates me, man, you ain't never taking that back from me. That's mine.
And Jeff, I told my stepson, like, maybe we didn't realize it when we were kids, when we were coming up in this business, but like, you are better than like, if you're not happy there, leave, because you're not going to start to be happy. And if you left the job, don't go back, because we don't go back with ex-girlfriends. Why? They're ex-girlfriends for a reason, right? So you know what I mean? It's like, these guys are in these shops right now that think to yourself like, oh man, I don't know what's out there. There's another job out there, and you may fall behind in your bills and shit may get messed up, but you'll be all right. And it's not going to knock you off this earth. It's not. Yeah. So go ahead, leave. And I know you're like, well, I got a family and stuff like that. I'm not saying just angrily quit your job, but figure out a way to get out of there. There's other avenues, and you are worth it, man. If you're not a bum, someone's going to see it, man. So don't stay somewhere you're not happy. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and we're on this earth for free. We ain't got to pay nothing to stay here, man.
Right. There's no better time right now for opportunities for us than ever been. It's the most opportunities for any technician now that's ever been in this known history of this industry. And I said it a couple months ago, and I'll say it again. If you're not happy, just like Bob finished saying, if you're not happy, go find where you're going to be, because I guarantee it's out there somewhere. And I guarantee the place that you think might take you would love to have you. If you bring,
it might not come quickly. It might not come quickly, but it may be a struggle, but you'll find your happy place. I mean, you got to look, I guess, it's what it is.
But bring what you can, you've got to give them something too. Like if you're, like you said, if you're a hack, or, you're difficult. Yeah.
Or you're young, if you're young, I'm not, it's another thing. If you're 20 years old and you thought, I'm the best out there, you're not. You got a lot to learn. Chill out, relax.
Yeah.
But you can find other employment, you know?
Oh, for sure. That's the thing. Like, we don't have to be. The last time I lost my last job, I had another job by day's end.
Mm-hmm.
By day's end. And I'm talking like I didn't get
on the way home.
Yeah. I didn't get fired at 9. I got fired at noon. And by 2:00, I had one offer that was a definite, and I was going to see another one. And that was just the way it is. So don't think you're ever trapped.
Never. You're not. There's too many opportunities out here in this business, man. There's shops all over the place. Drive down any road, anywhere. Every friggin' light, there's another shop.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bob, I want to thank you for coming on, man.
I want to thank you for having me, man. I've had a blast. Really, it's been fun. Yeah,
it's we're gonna do this again. Hopefully we have a night with less technical problems, but I mean, it's been pretty good. In closing, any comments, anything you want to say to everybody? You're kind of getting a lot of traction on TikTok, so people that want to find you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I may come off. I always say I'm acquired taste. You know what I mean? Like right off the bat, I may not be, your flavor, but if you hang out for a little bit and get to know me, you know what I mean? I'm not so bad. And what I like to put out there more than anything else is I still love working on cars, man. I still love it today, almost 25 years in, as much as I did when I was a kid. And I'm enjoying even more now the fact that I'm able to pass it down to another generation and pass some knowledge out there to the world. And it's really fun. It's a really interesting time, and I'm having a lot of fun. So thank you for having me, man.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. We'll be talking to you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, if you could do me a favor real quick and comment on, and share this episode, I'd really appreciate it. And please, most importantly, set the podcast to automatically download every Tuesday morning. As always, I'd like to thank our amazing guests for their perspectives and expertise, and I hope that you'll please join us again next week on this journey of change. Thank you to my partners in the ASA group and to the Changing the Industry podcast. Remember what I always say, in this industry, you get what you pay for. Here's hoping everyone finds their missing 10 millimeter, and we'll see you all again next time.